So hello, my computer, good afternoon, computer says it's 1 o'clock, so we are going to call the East Resource Recovery Committee to order. Just giving, I guess we have Nancy and Shanna stick handling the minutes and the process in the background, so checking on attendance, we have all 4 commissioners in attendance confirmed. Do you want to do roll call? If you can do it as formal roll call, why not?
Please acknowledge your presence when I call your name, and then mute your mics afterwards. So Chair of today's meeting, Director Chapman,
Hello, I'm here.
Director Tierney,
Here, thank you.
Director Vandenberg,
Here.
Councillor Dumas,
Hello, here.
General Manager Wolf,
Present.
Manager Wilson,
I'm present.
Akani Norimatsu, present. Shana Ekman, present, and Nancy Metz, present. We have someone?
We have guest director, West Resource Committee Chair, Walter Popoff, Director Popoff.
He's on your, he's on the thing. Oh, yeah, guest director, Director Newell?
Not.
And Director Popoff.
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody that have not acknowledged? Turn it back over to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll do a couple items and then go to freedom of the floor, but I want to start off that we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. And I will look for adoption of the agenda, and I understand Director Vandenberg would like to add a late item, which is landfill reporting.
Yes, I would, thank you, and I understand it needs to be supported.
Well, we'll look for a 2/3 vote to add that. Uli, you understand what that would entail, or you're ready to speak to it. So with that added item and looking for a 2/3 vote to adopt the agenda with the addition of what will be item 4 landfill reporting, and then read number the others. So all in favor? So we have all 4 committee members. So we're good there. Thank you. No, big challenge there. I'd like to offer Director Popoff freedom of the floor. Mover and seconder for that. Tierney, Vandenberg, any discussion? Don't see any. All in favor? So always welcome to have our other sub-regional chairs at these meetings. Minutes, item 2.3 has been received. Of course, they've also gone to the board. Haven't seen any or heard of any corrections to the minutes, so they should be fine as is. We will move then to item 3, Creston Eco Depot request for proposals result. Connie, you've done a lot of work on this and you have a report with probably all the information we need to know, but we would like to hear your Coles note or summary of where we're at right now. The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Chapman. So today I'm here to present the results from the request for proposal 2023-231 environmental for Creston Eco Depot establishment, operate and maintain 2024 to 2029. So as we're all aware, Creston and its surrounding area has been experiencing a significant shortage in this collection services for EPR programs and non-EPR programs, especially non-EPR hazardous waste, so-called. The regional district has been hosting annual residential household hazardous waste events in Creston, and this event has been very successful and well attended. However, it will be so much more cost efficient for us to operate the year-round depot, as well as that's actually more accessible for the residents' perspective as well to have that year-round eco depot. So the RDCK has issued a total of 3 RFP and request for expression of interest combined in the last 5 years. So the first RFP was issued in 2019, and that was followed by a request for expression of interest in 2020. And neither of them had successful bidders. And the staff was at that time also informed though that Keep It Waste was interested in partnering with the RDCK. So the board directed staff to start negotiating with Keep It Waste for the future partnership in 2020. However, as of 2023, mid-2023, Keep It Waste was not yet able to secure any locations nor potential service available to us. And also the demand for the Eco Depot has significantly increased last year because the more year-round return to retail collection facilities available in the area suddenly shut down. So because of that, the staff also issued the second RFP on March 1st, 2024, to seek any potential proponent to establish the Eco Depot together. So we received one eligible bid for this proposal from the local proponent, and he has recently purchased Bottle Depot in Grand Forks, and he's wishing to establish Eco Depot in Creston. And after the investigation and evaluation, staff has found that the proponent also did not have any locations secured for the Eco Depot. And also, as you can see in table 1 in the report, the quoted amount that they proposed for the annual operation cost was $339,974. So the budget allocated for 2024 is 186, was only 55,000, which includes both the cost for the Eco Depot establishment and also to operate hazardous waste roundup event in 2024. And this value will decrease to 40,000 annually for the next 4 years in the financial plan, because we would then expecting to only have Eco Depot moving forward. So as this table explicitly indicates, the total annual price that the proponent has proposed is significantly over a budget. Therefore, staff recommend that the board reject the proposal from 1436368 BC Ltd, submitted in response to request for proposal 2023-231 environment issued for the Eco Depot establishment, operate and maintain 2024-2029 due to the value exceeding the available budget and service S186 is resource recovery.
Thank you, and yeah, it is nice to see all the other, like, the volumes and stuff in the tables, and that attachment gives us a sense of what we're up against. So we have 2 things to do with respect to this. One is we can't leave a proposal hanging, either we reject it or go back. You know, options would be negotiation or whatever, not being recommended. We can also have a conversation in very high level terms in open session about other things we can do. If we want to get specific or in any detail or start talking about land or acquisition, of course, that would go to a closed session. So with some caution going into this conversation, questions for Akane or discussion around the recommendation, or if anybody wants to even start with moving that recommendation. Director Vandenberg.
Well, there's quite a gap. On the analysis of the bid, can we determine why there's such a gap? Is there some things that are missing in the RFP that I don't know where to start? 300,000 versus 55, like that's crazy.
Mhm.
So why is that?
So go ahead. Yes.
Through the chair, so the price is significantly high because, first of all, as I said, they don't have any secured location. So they have to either rent, lease it or purchase to secure the location. And also that landlord has to also accept all this hazardous waste going in and out in the location. So it's quite limited that, you know, the options will be limited as well. And also this person is just one of the local businessmen who wants to establish those kind of businesses. So to start up, capital expenses will be much more than those existing entities out there, such as maybe if it has more equipment or machinery available. However, he has to purchase that to start with. And yeah, so many modifications will be required for any potential facilities locations. So those costs are added up, and yeah, just basically just established just from scratch. This is how much he said he would need, and also to operate, he would need supervisor and staff to accept that much volume. So all the breakdown information is actually available if you require to see. So I didn't present it this time.
Further? It just doesn't make sense. Regardless of who is the player, they still have capital to pay for and finance over a period of time. If this proposal is looking to have all that capital paid right up front, okay, well then they're gonna miss the mark. But then I wonder, with the proponent at 55, have they got all their expense? How are they able to do this and pay all their expenses and pay, you know?
55 is a placeholder that we put in knowing that we already subsidize hazardous waste roundups, Uli, or.
Yeah, so if I may add to it, so this is partly developed based on the model that we have in Nelson in place.
Right, that's
Where an existing business just added some materials to it, a lot easier to establish, and then we sized it down to the population served and the materials collected in the eastern sub-region. So we knew that the 55,000 may not necessarily be fully reflective, and the recommendation may have looked differently if we would have ended up at twice the budgeted amount. But the discrepancy is that large that we felt that it is time to have further discussion with the directors where we want to take this.
And I see Director Popoff with your hand up, and I'm just going to log in so I can track chat, but Director Popoff, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Director Vanderberg asked my question why it was so high. But I'm looking at establishing an eco depot in Castlegar. And are we going to be facing a similar situation in Castlegar? That would be my first question. And my second question is, I know the Leafs are operating the eco depot in Nelson, and how much are we subsidizing that by?
Either.
I'll let you answer the second question and I can answer the first.
Okay, I'll answer, Chair, I'll answer the second one. So currently for Nelson Leafs Bottle Depot, we subsidize total of close to 78,000, including the disposal cost. Excluding the disposal cost. So this includes the staffing cost and portion of operations related to non-EPR hazardous waste handling, and as well as environmental pollution liability insurances that we require to have for them. So that's on us as well, and additional, supplementary expenses towards their operation to have the non-EPR hazardous waste on board with their existing program. So Nelson Leafs Bottle Depot, again, to start with, they're just the refundable depots, and then included other EPR programs in the course of the last 15 years or so. Then the RDCK reached out to them to expand to have non-EPR hazardous waste categories to their program. So then we're subsidizing for that portion, and we're not including any of that related to other EPR programs or any of that. So this is the portion we contribute.
And supplemental on that part, or we'll go to Uli and then back to you.
Yeah, in regards to will we face the same problems in Castlegar? Everything points in that direction. Again, in Castlegar, we didn't have any explicit interested parties or businesses for EPR programs. EPR programs had a hard go all along in the Western sub-region. So using that as an indicator, I would say yes, there's a high likelihood we would face similar issues in the Western sub-region.
Supplemental, Director Popoff?
Yeah, yes, I do, and I don't have the budget in front of me. Did we allocate any money in the budget for the establishment of the eco depot in Castlegar, and how much did we allocate? I know this is a little bit of a sideline what we're doing, but it involves the whole regional district when it comes down to eco depots.
That's okay, because we don't have the recommendation on the table and we have to be somewhat strategic around this. So, Castlegar budget, do you know offhand?
Amy might know better.
Or Amy?
She might have.
Yeah, through the chair, the budget does have 78,000. We kind of expected a staggering of Castlegar in 24 and then the cusp in 25. So we're showing a budget of 78,000 in 24 with a mid 24 start date in the budget for Castlegar, and then it was moving up to 156,000 per year once NACUSP is onboarded. So we do have budget for the operating costs as well as some budget just as a placeholder again for capital infrastructure to get locations set up. And so that we do have some budget in the West for this.
And go ahead, Connie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chair, just for the supplement for Uli's comment on the first question. So for Castlegar, we do have existing bottle depot. They already collect electronics and then batteries and then refundable. So they do have existing depots, which is exactly the same scenario as Nelson's situation. However, the differences between the eco depot situation in Preston is that we don't have existing refundable. We do have a refundable collection facility. However, they do not want to expand into any of the other EPR programs. So there is a limit. So we haven't reached out to Castlegar about a depot or anything, but then there will be the case that they would love to expand their, items that fall under different EPR programs, as well as to expand to have non-EPR hazardous waste materials.
And it's the revenue streams from bottle collection and EPR revenues, which create the core for staffing at least part of the time. And we were only looking to support the incremental cost of handling the hazardous waste where there is no other revenue stream. So I think all three cases are a little different. It sounds like Castlegar is potentially more promising than Creston at this time. Director Vandenberg, further, Director Popoff, or comfortable for now?
Yeah, just one more question, if I may, Chair, and a little bit of leniency on that one. Since the
Yes.
existing facility is not willing to expand, is it a possibility of putting the bid out to basically compete with the existing facility and have an eco depot establishment at the same time?
In Creston?
In Castlegar?
I think that'll need to go to West Resource for,
A clarification, I don't think we had a discussion with the bottle depot in Castlegar about this, did we? No, so we did not get a no from them in any form. We just haven't had an expression of interest from them to do something like this, but we haven't went out with an RFP either. So there's simply no discussion yet. So I don't want to speculate what their position is in regards to that.
yeah, I don't think government we should need to be cautious about competing with existing business, private enterprise business. Maybe zeroing back in on Creston, we do still have this one proposal in front of us. Director Vandenberg, for the second time, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So Connie, you talked about subsidies of 80,000 and then contribution on the hazmat side. So there's a value, there's a number there. And and I think it's important because it goes further into what's going through my mind. But prior to that, who awards or manages the bottle depot collection stuff? Is that something that the local governments even get involved in? Is it completely private?
In Creston, private business.
So they are taking all the
In
revenue.
Crawford Bay, private business. There's one.
So without that revenue opportunity to help subsidize these other requirements, it's very challenging, is what I'm hearing.
That's why we're going expression of interest in RFP approach.
And
Go ahead.
So why don't we compete? Can't.
So if I may say, you use the term subsidizing. I guess it's more a fact that they have all the equipment already there that is used part-time, like a forklift or whatever, like storage areas, so like opening hours that are staffed. So it is for them easier to add something in, just adding a half a staff member or a couple of business hours, but not needing the capital layout to enter into that type of business. So I don't think there's any interest for them to subsidize a business that they don't need to be in and take away from their profits from the bottle depot side. So like I said, it's just because they can use the same type of equipment. That's where a win-win can be achieved in these types of businesses.
If there are partnership opportunities, so maybe that conversation should be closed if we start talking sites or specifics, just cautioning. Connie?
Sorry to supplement these comments, just how we determine or how the EPO program determines the location is really up to EPO programs. So each individual entities who are wishing to establish something, they have to reach out to them to get approval to start with. And then for Encore Pacific, who does the refundable programs, they have certain openings available each year to establish new depots, however, it's limited. So currently there was only Grand Forks available or Vernon available, which one of the proponents that proposed for this took that position. So you can't just raise your hand and you want to do this service and they get approved. So this is another tricky part. So then partnering with existing bottle depot makes no sense than totally relocating that to somewhere else to get approval, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so Encore wouldn't necessarily welcome bringing on someone to their funding stream that's head to head with someone existing.
So we can't control that part.
We still have a recommendation, but go ahead.
Right,
One more.
my first question was, you had presented 80,000, the subsidies for Nelson, 80,000, and then an amount for hazmat. What is that amount?
Amy, through the chair, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it a total of about 135,000 for the combination of the disposal and contribution projected last year?
Looks like, through the chair, it looks like it's around 160,000 for the combined depot expense.
Go ahead.
The reason I'm asking, Mr. Chair, is it possible to go back to the proponent and say, listen, we can help you get started through a subsidy of 160,000, whatever is being done in Nelson kind of thing, but you have to take care of the rest in exchange for a multi-year contract that has built-in requirements to it. You must perform performance requirements to it. Then that's something that they can take to the bank and leverage into capital.
The cost is volume based as well, because you pay per ton, per liter, whatever for disposal. So it wouldn't necessarily be an apples and apples dollar amount. The subsidy that you just mentioned, that number for Nelson might be for triple the volume we would expect for Creston. We're government, we have to be cautious about our where we negotiate, but
That is correct. So as was pointed out, I want to say about $60,000 was for the disposal of non-eligible hazardous waste materials. So the criteria and definition of hazardous waste is very strict, and we get everything. So anything in an unlabeled container and then is all material that's not eligible under the program that we have to pay through the service provider to the company that picks it up. In this case, Haskell or somebody like that picks it up and properly disposes these materials at a hazardous waste facility. So that quantity is correct, maybe somewhere between 1/3 and half of what we see here in Nelson. So that dollar amount accordingly would probably be only half of what we are currently paying in the Nelson area, knowing that some volumes currently are being drawn from the west and the east sub-region to the Nelson location because there's no other facilities available.
and we have allocation amount adjustment for that based on an estimate of where we can monitor stuff comes from. Amy, sorry, I missed you, had your hand up. We'll let you weigh in before we go back to the director.
Thank you very much. I think what we're seeing here is that what we got as a submission was very much a standalone business plan for only what we're asking for. And that's not very cost effective for the size of community we're trying to service here. What we're really needing is a partnership with someone who's already doing either a collection like an Encore business or some other sort of business where this is just something they can kind of fit in on the side, where they have the staff, they have the space, they have the equipment, and we can just supplement that for the portion of their business that this part is going to take over. As a standalone business, it's obviously not very cost effective. So, I mean, I think for this proponent in this RFP, I don't know, we don't have it in the budget, so there's a lot of reworking if you were interested in pursuing this. I think at this point it's canceling this bid and then moving forward and looking at our options. And is we've had some resistance with the current bottle depot owner. But he's interested in selling this business. So there could be some development that happens in the future. And then if that's not the case, is there other locations that we can find that have less of an expense for an operating business? Do we want to look at having some of these services operated by our staff and sites? Like, I think we need direction. So we've got this RFP to decide on today, but I think that there's a lot of other options, and we go and start investigating all these options and putting resources into it until we spoke to you to get some direction on where to put our efforts moving into investigating future options.
So you're looking somewhat for a clean slate to launch this concept again. Director Vandenberg, and as they say, we still don't have a recommendation, but go ahead.
So I'm going to put forward the recommendation that the board reject the proposal from the number company. And I don't know if I can officially say this, but go back to the drawing board.
Well,
Some more options.
even if that's seconded, I would call for division. So do you want to move the staff recommendation and we have the ability to?
I would
Take
like to
something else.
move the staff recommendation.
Staff recommendation is pretty concise that that we reject. We have a second for the staff recommendation. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Councillor DeMoss, I see your hand there as well. So that is in open, and at least now staff is open to deal with options. Could we defer the discussion of options at this time?
We need to.
Because there are so many options that might involve partnerships or other businesses that we couldn't discuss in open.
And if I may add to that conversation through the chair, yes, definitely interested in further options. And maybe this is a timeline thing or a time crunch, but I'm surprised that at this session, staff hasn't given us further options to consider. It's now they're going to go away and I think they already know what that might look like.
Well, again, if there's information, partnerships, specific businesses,
Right.
something that is not able to be, if it's legal land, labor type stuff, then that conversation would be closed. So at this point, I think we've done what we have to do in terms of giving staff now a more free hand and we'll maybe move on to the next agenda item. Yeah, we do have a closed session coming. So that brings us to item 4. Director Vandenberg, you wanted some level or additional landfill reporting, I guess is the topic. We do get reporting on various aspects from time to time. Could you maybe outline, or maybe staff already know the sort of metrics that you're looking for?
Right. So what I found in previous chapters of this career is that it is the terminology that reflects what the costing looks like at an operation that's the landfill could be simplified to a very digestible term. And for example, if we were able to talk in terms of cost per ton references, that's a whole lot easier to understand at this table than currently trying to figure it out on our own or going and asking some very difficult questions when if we could just come to the understanding that we speak in terms of cost per ton. And that's to do with, and that cost per ton would include your operation, your expenses, your operations, your expenses, your liabilities, that sort of thing. It could further be broke down into the elements that make up that matrix for future conversation purposes. But I would like to seek staff input as to what those metrics would be that would make up that whole of the cost per ton reporting. Is where I'd like this discussion to go, to explore.
If you could hold the thought for half a second, I do see Director Page has joined us as a guest. For your information, Director Page, we've added an item, landfill reporting or metrics. So we've gone through the Eco Depot discussion for the open session. Would the committee entertain offering freedom of the floor to Director Page? Move Director Vandenberg, seconded Tierney, all in favor. So we will look for your input as you see fit. We also have, of course, West Resource Recovery Director Paul as freedom of the floor. So then to your question then to Uli or Amy, I believe I've seen those numbers, but maybe not recently. Uli?
Yes, I think we have provided similar numbers before, but we will provide, or is at least my expectation, I haven't seen the draft report yet, but expect that we fairly detailed discuss these types of numbers as part of the efficiency study that we tend to bring either in July or August, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, to the Joint Resource Recovery Committee. There we will talk about specific revenues and expenses from certain materials. We will talk about what we need to continue or newly do, what we should stop doing. We will look at the various cost drivers for various materials or landfill overall. And we will bring somewhat updated numbers in regards on a cost per ton basis. I expect cost per ton per material because that may be very different for materials that go straight in the landfill versus a material that's being shredded, stored, retransported, or used for secondary purposes. So that's the discussion I expect to come with the efficiency study. I expect as well that we will, from time to time, update you with the cost per ton, and I fully agree that's a very effective number to deal with when you make decisions regarding user fees, but as well what to accept at what level. So yes, makes total sense. Some numbers we have readily available. We have, for example, the landfill liability as part of our annual landfill liability calculation. We have that in a cubic meter or cubic meter of airspace versus a ton number available out of that calculation. We have a very simple and easy to be calculated cost for the operations contract, which is simply contract number divided by the tons. And then it comes down to the more nuanced view, transfer station cost, scale cost, these various elements. And we can provide that and add that in and provide you with a cost per ton.
Further?
And so, yes, that would be completely beneficial because those are relevant numbers, but they're much easier to digest. So if that's an understood direction, that's great. You don't have to make a motion going forward or for this to go forward. But then we can have, it's just a lot easier in terms of governance, making decision makings on numbers that are relative, but doesn't require us to sit through a set of spreadsheets or wait for that particular meeting when if we talk in those terms all the time, they become our day-to-day walk and talk terms. It's also easier for us if our public ever wants to engage in us. It's easy for us to be able to recall those type of numbers on a per ton basis overall and say to them that these are the direction and targets that we're that we've hit and we're moving towards, then get into the weeds about this expense and that expense and so on, because no one's ever gonna understand that conversation. So that's sort of the hope that, that I would encourage our group to welcome.
That's fair. And also, we've had the conversation in the past about trucking waste to East Kootenay or Ullashany. And that is the key metric, cost per ton to continue to do or not do what we're doing now. Any other discussion around that point, or we're good for now? We're waiting. Consultant is doing part of that work and part in-house.
The efficiency study is underway. I believe you're close to having a draft going out for staff review. Amy, any comments?
We are meeting with the consultants next week again. We are actually hoping is our last review with them. So the intention is to be bringing it to the August meeting.
Then we will move to what's now item 5, public time. At 1:35 on mine here, good estimate, by 2 o'clock. We're a little ahead of that. We have public online. I'm going to say a little differently from I said this morning. It may be the same individual who's online. I said we're now at public time. If there is anyone from the press or the public who wishes to ask this committee a question, you can unmute now and ask the question. And I took a long breath and nobody unmuted. I saw just as we were ending the meeting, something on chat from public saying there's public on the line. I was fully aware. So I'm going to state again, there is no public in the room. There's public online. First call, if you have a question, unmute now. Second call, third and final call. So there are no questions from the public at this meeting. So we will move on. Next item is a motion. I would accept the motion to close the meeting to the public. Director Vandenberg, seconded Director Tierney. You don't need a discussion on that, except it is as in the agenda under the provisions of the community charter. All in favor? So I see the 4 of us. I would like to invite our guest directors to remain in the meeting. And then we'll wait a few minutes for anyone public to log off, or if not, you'll be removed from the meeting.
Give them a minute to log themselves off.
Okay, one more time, can people who are in the public please log off the meeting, or our staff will log you off?
you.